Great holiday, and I'm excited to be on here. I'm going to do a little hangout webinar with you today and talk a little about self-awareness, talk a little bit about the conviction that comes in our lives when we start to do some exploration of our own lives. And it's interesting because this isn't really a topic a lot of people like to cover. A lot of people don't like to get into. I'm doing a training with a group right now where they go through. I have 10 questions of discovery, and that's what these people are going through. And they're tough questions. They're questions that are asking a lot of tough questions that are asking tough questions of you and about your life. But as I get started today, I just want to introduce myself a little bit. And I'm going to be doing these webinars weekly, and I'd love you guys to jump in and just hang out. I've been in network marketing now for 35 years in the industry. It's been a heck of a journey. I got in '79. I got in the Amway business, and I built that for 25 years and built I was a seven-figure earner in that company, and was on the board of directors and had an extremely successful business all over the world. Raised my kids, raised my family, and was pretty much free from the time I was 32 years old, and did that for 25 consecutive years. And then after that, they launched the company from Amway to Quickstar, and it changed to me, it changed the vibe of the company. And a part of it was because I'm a people guy. I love working with people. I love relationships. I love helping people. I love succeeding with people. I love seeing people succeed. And when they launched a Quickstar, it was a big pitch of online, internet sales and that kind of stuff. And and part of the challenge came when I had good old boys on my team, and they didn't even have any computer, which I know some of you are figuring how long ago was that? A long time ago. And but so that didn't do that well. And now I know some of you probably know they're Amway Global, and they've changed the name of the company again and kind of gone back and gone in a different direction. But after I left that, I owned a couple of businesses and did some other stuff, did ministry, which I loved. I had a father and son ministry, working with fathers and sons all over the country, and doing these incredible weekends and helping men to overcome forgiveness of a father and overcome the challenges of their life. And a lot of that was due to my life. I grew up in a home with a alcoholic mom and 30 years of drinking, and she married some losers, and me and my brothers, it was an abusive situation. It wasn't good. So being through that, even in the midst of that, I was 80 pounds overweight, so I was kind of an obese kid, and even during that journey, I found myself just believing that someday I was going to do something great with my life, and I didn't know how I was going to do it. We were in a pretty poor home, and we ate food. We were never without food or anything, but we didn't have a lot of money. But I always just believed that even through all the abuse and all the challenges and all the struggles, that someday I was going to be able to do something with my life that would be great. And I didn't know it would be network marketing. That's not what I expected. I didn't know. I didn't expect anything, to be honest. I just knew that I was excited about my life, and that I could change some things. But it wasn't that way for a long time. A lot of years I spent a lot of time just asking, why me? Why me? Why the abuse? Why an alcoholic mom? Why did my dad leave when I was 7 years old and take off? And all the why things. And maybe some of you out there today that are watching my hangout and hanging out with me, or watching the webinar, are just kind of going, wow, I've been there. We get to a place where we feel sorry for ourselves, and we start to pity ourselves, and that's a pity party. And it doesn't get us anywhere in life. It's most of us with that DNA, it's that determined natural ambition I talk about. Most of us that have that DNA, we're the kind of people that just aren't going to settle. We're just not going to settle for average. We're going to go out, we're going to play football, we're going to be the captain of the team. And because there's just something about us where we want to be an impact person. We want to be on the field and in the game. And I've been that person my whole life. I didn't do well in school because nobody really cared if I did. So I didn't perform for anybody. And one of the things I've found in life, especially with men like to perform for somebody, for their spouse. And if they're not getting that recognition from their spouse, it's performing for somebody else. And I must know those challenges. And then, it's getting into a business with a team, and you can perform for that team and together and win together. And that's one of the things I saw in network marketing that attracted me so much to it, was the opportunity to win together. Build a team of, I love playing sports and athletics, and because, it's just, you gotta work with each other. You gotta believe in each other. You gotta trust each other to have success. And but there were a lot of years it was, why me? Why me? But, I added one word to that vocabulary, and I asked the question, why not me? Just why not me? Why not me living that kind of a lifestyle? Why not me having freedom? Why not me not having to work 7 days a week? Why not me living in that house on the hill I used to see driving down the 405 or the 5 freeway going to San Diego? And Just start asking myself those questions. And maybe some today, while you're watching this webinar, some of you you ask yourself those questions all the time. Why them and not me? But I just realized some things, and that was that until I really went to work, kind of going back and asking, hey, what are my fears? What am I afraid of? What are the things in my life that I fear so much? And going to some self-discovery and asking the tough questions of myself. I mentioned that earlier. And, questions like, what do I fear? What are the lies I keep telling myself? What are lies I keep repeating over and over again? Now I've got a statue in the other room, and I wish it was here, only it weighs so much I can't carry it in. I'd love to put it on film and show it to you, but it's a it's a statue, and it's really two guys facing off like this, and it's sculpted. So it's kind of, I don't even know how to describe it. It's just two guys sculpted like this, and their legs are way far back, and they're leaning into each other, like they're pushing each other really hard. And the title of the statue is The Struggle Within. The Struggle Within. And it's sitting right in my living room, and it's my favorite piece of artwork I've ever gotten. And because I love it, because it's the constant struggle of me versus me. Me versus me. The old me, the me that never made it, the me that was abused, that me versus the new me, the one I believe I am after years and years of therapy and years of reading the right books and being around the right leadership and the right mentors. It was changing this thinking. Because see, what we don't realize is until we change this, it doesn't matter where we came from. Okay, some of the wealthiest people in the world had some of the worst upbringings, and that's part of why they're where they are. Because struggle is less painful than regret, and the people that face that and understand that, guess what they're going to do? They're going to pull up their bootstraps and they're going to go, I don't care where I've been, it's where I want to go. But see, it's easy to say that. For a lot of us on, you say, well, Craig, that's what I've been trying to do now for a year or two. I've been in a company myself, and I've been trying to go from, believing in myself and believing that I can do great things with my life and things I can accomplish. And I read the books and I listen to these people on stage and I hear them speak. But then I go home, when I sit by myself, it's just this rotating negativity, this rotating, you're a failure. You'll never make it. You'll never amount to anything. And what we find in ourselves is that we've spent our life reading a script that someone wrote for us that isn't even true. It's a script of our life that we read, but it's not even true about our lives. You were a loser. You were fat. You're ugly. Nobody liked you, right? And all of those things we hold on to. And the one thing with our mind is we don't forget things. That's why what we put into our mind, scripture talks about putting into your mind the good things, the pure things, because we don't forget them. They spin. Videotapes, they run over and over again. I can close my eyes right now and I can see things that happened to me as a child. But the difference is they're not holding me back. See, the difference is I've made some choices in my life in the past. And guess what? One of the things you find with pain and one of the things you find with struggle is that it doesn't end. You just face it differently. At different times in your life, you face it and you're at a different pace in your life, facing it, so you handle it differently, right? So those things surface. There's times I can, I've been extremely successful, made millions of dollars. And sometimes I'll sit by myself and ask myself the question, how'd you do that? You, this person, where you came from? You're not even that smart. See, I let that still come back to me. And so for all, someone's watching this webinar today, we've got to change ourselves. And the good part, we can do that. And what the good part is? To be more successful than you are. Whether you want to be a seven-figure earner in your company, whether you want to be a great father, whether you want to be a great mother, all of those things are going to take change because you're not there yet. But all of us got to begin with believing I can change, that I'm responsible for my life, right? There's things in our life we're responsible for. God, I just personally believe that God is in control of my life, and I understand that, and I submit my life to him because that's what I do, and that's my belief. I'm not pushing that on you. But I also still know I make decisions, like making decisions that I'm not going to let my past control my future. I'm not going to let what I have not done change what I can do. You see, but it takes strength. It takes courage. It takes incredible courage to change. It takes courage to face the past. And you might be sitting out there today watching this webinar saying, why do I have to face the past? Because what I found out was that when you discover things about your life, it creates conviction in our life. When I discovered things about my life, like I resented my father, like I hated the man, okay, like I'm over him, right? You know, this is one of the things I dealt with men for years in my ministry is you're not over him. Okay, your dad's gone out of your life. He wasn't there for you, all those things. I'm over that. No, you're not. It's something that sits inside, and it's a seed that continues to become fertile. It just keeps growing. Just by saying it's not there doesn't mean it's not there. And we can read all the positive books in the world, and they say, well, just believe. Okay, well, that's great, but it doesn't change the situation, right? My father was never there. That's reality. And I can say, well, it doesn't matter, but you know what, it does, because it affected my life. So what I have to do, I have to forgive him. Forgave him. 100%. Forgave my mom. Because you know what? They messed up. But you know what? So what? But you know what the freeness was? You know what how freeing it was for me to forgive them? And whether they ever changed, it didn't matter. My mom did. My dad never did. My father died just a few months back. I haven't seen him maybe 5 times in my lifetime. I got a call that my father was dead, my real biological father. I got a call from his wife, who he's married to now, her son, and he called up to see if he could borrow money to bury my father, because my father had no money to bury himself, and he was sitting in a morgue in Sacramento. Very sad, very sad. But I've forgiven him, right? Are you over it? No, I'm never going to be over it, but I can handle it differently. I can handle it positively. I've blessed my beautiful 3 children because of it, because I forgave, and because I was able to be whole, because I broke the chains of the past. Then guess what happens? I turn around now, I can bless my 3 children, my 3 beautiful children. I got a son who's 30 and he has twin boys, Hayden and Jack, born last January 21st. My daughter, 2 days on the 25th, had her first baby, a son, Judah Brave. It's his name, Judah Brave, after the priestly tribe of Judah. When I saw that boy and put him in my hands and held him, it was a legacy thing for me. It was the fact that I blessed my children. They're very competent. They're very whole. They have a strong spiritual base. I could have never given that to them had I not myself changed my life and decided to break the chains. So some of you out there today, you got to break the chains. Right? You've got to be willing to go back, because when we go back, and I looked and I dug up some of the things that needed to dig up, and yeah, sure, I got therapy for some of them. Some of them I didn't need to, but some of them I did for a long time. But by discovering up, it gave me conviction. You know what the conviction was? Just the truth that I could change. The truth that I didn't have to. I remember when I got into network marketing, I went and told my mother, I said, Mom, I'm in this business now, and I'm going to make so much money. I'm going to help you out. I'm going to take care of you when you're older, and I'm going to be a millionaire. And I remember her looking at me and saying, son, there's never been millionaires in our family. You know, and I always kid when I speak, I always say, yeah, God forbid we don't screw that family tree up, right? God forbid, we don't want to mess that up, right? But you know, but my mom cared about me. She didn't want me to be disappointed, right? How many people say that to you? I don't want you to be disappointed. Right? But you know what? It was at that time and realizing that, you know what? I am going to change my life. And you know what? People think that their life is so much of the time, and some of you out there, and this is some of you, if you're builders, you know, if you are in the network business, because I'm sure some of the people getting on here are, whether they're on my team or whether they're on another company, they're getting on here because they want to figure it out. Well, let me just be honest with you today. Figuring it out, I don't care what company you're in. Figuring it out starts with figuring you out. Starts with figuring you out. You know, it starts with you believing, number one, that my past doesn't control my future. You know, that all this trunk that we carry, this hand-me-downs, I call them, right? The hand-me-downs. What are the hand-me-downs? The hand-me-downs are the things that have been given to you. Now, your parents, low self-esteem, lack of belief in yourself. And I'm not saying all parents give that, but if that's what you got, and that's what came, those are hand-me-downs. Those of you who are 3rd or 4th kids or 2nd kid, you know, when the older kid grows out, you get the hand-me-downs. And that's what they gave us. My dad gave me the hereditary temperance of possibly being an alcoholic, and my children the same thing. He passed that on. That's a hand-me-down, right? Both my parents. And thank God that hasn't happened. But that was there. That was handed down to me. They gave me the fact that I was poor and that nobody ever believed in me. And those were all hand-me-downs. Okay. And until we learn that, most of us carry this big trunk around, right? This gigantic trunk, and it's full of all your hand-me-downs. Sometimes when I speak, I got this trunk that I made. And it's an old beat up trunk, and it's got cobwebs on it that I created and dirt on it and stuff. It's an old trunk. And in it, I've got my hand-me-downs. If you open that today and I put it out here on the counter, it's got an empty alcohol bottle representing my mother. It's got a little baseball glove because me and my dad used to play catch all the time. And then when he left, I never played catch again with him. So it's a little baseball glove. I've got a knife and a fork in there because I was obese as a child. I got these chains in there because I was chained in my past. And so a lot of you on this webinar today, that's your life. Whether you see it or not, you're carrying that trunk around. And my message to you today is that you can set it down. That the baggage that you've carried from the past doesn't need to control where you want to go. And until you determine that, I'm sorry, I'm talking with my hands, I always talk with my hands. Until you determine that, you're not going to get where you want to be. Because until you can see yourself there and believe you deserve to be there, until you can see that and embrace it and own it, you will stay where you are. And you wonder, some of you are out building your business and you're out talking to people and it's not growing for you and you can't figure out why. You're not sure what's going on here, right? And a lot of it is because you don't believe. And that stuff that just sits inside and just spins around. And all those things you carried forward. And let me just tell you something about the story of our lives, okay? I said it earlier, struggle is less painful than regret. You know what the story of our lives is? Okay, our story of our lives for most of us is, I remember Jerry Falwell once, I heard him speak. He said, you're either in the middle of a struggle, coming out of one, or you're going to get a phone call tomorrow. And that's how we live our lives. Right? And a lot of us, we have this low self-esteem because of our past. We have this low self-esteem where we don't feel good about ourselves. And I was sitting down with a lady recently, not recently, it was a while back, but I was on a phone call with her. Actually, I wasn't sitting down with her. My mind's racing here. But we got on the phone and she said, yeah, I just have a terrible low self-esteem. It's a girl I was mentoring. She was a dermatologist, doctor, very sharp. She says, I just have a low self-esteem. I said, really? I said, tell me about your life. Tell me a little bit about your past. And she started telling me about how she grew up and how she was molested as a child and all these terrible things that happened to her and all these incredible things and this journey she was on and the story of her life. And she told it and I listened and I was just so moved by it. And when I was done, I asked her, I said, you know what? Let me ask you a question. How did you overcome all that? She goes, I don't know. I just became strong. I just kept moving forward. I didn't allow it to keep me back. And I said, that's incredible. And I thought to myself, how can this woman have a low self-esteem battling and fighting through what she did and overcoming? So she's a doctor. She's gone to college. She's done incredible things. She has this big practice. People come in. She helps them. But see, our mind focuses on what we aren't in the past. So her low self-esteem doesn't come from, she doesn't focus on all she's accomplished. She focuses on what she isn't. It's called comparison. How many of us out there do that? If you're in the fitness industry, tough industry to be in because when you get involved in the fitness industry, guess what? All of a sudden you're there and you're seeing beautiful bodies and people that transform and they look incredible. And you're constantly looking in the mirror going, I'm not putting my before and after on there. No way, right? We're always looking at what other people have that's better than what we have. I think I have a big nose. So every time I look at someone's nose, I think, oh man, look how big my nose is because I'm comparing my worst part. I was obese as a child. I've said that. Right now I'm a little bit overweight, but for the most part, the last 20 years of my life, I've been in pretty good shape. In fact, really good shape. I've just been busy and haven't been working out, but really good shape. But every time I look in the mirror, I promise you, in fact, I rarely look in the mirror because even though it's been all these years and I've worked hard to be in shape, guess what I see when I look in the mirror? I see a fat guy, a fat kid. I put on clothes and I can be in the best shape of my life. 33-inch waist. I'm 64. It's not bad. And I look in the mirror and I see a fat guy. See, I always said, the thing with obesity, it's not what you're eating, it's what's eating you. And for a lot of us, that's true. So people that lose weight, I watch The Biggest Loser in these shows, and people that lose weight, the amazing thing about it is that the transformation that takes place in this weight loss It's not, geez, look at me now. I looked terrible before. I look great now. No, it's what's going on here. Because until I can stop seeing a fat guy, I'm still going to be fat. Until I can until I can stop seeing the kid in school that never did good, the one everybody made fun of because he was fat, the kid whose father beat him up every day. Until I keep seeing that kid, then I'm going to see him every time I look in the mirror. The great part is, see, that God uses the story of our lives to change lives. And that's one of the things I love about the business we're in. I mean, I'm not saying all of you are in network marketing here, but I love that part of my business because, see, what's so great about it is once you discover, where you need to go and the past, and you deal with that, your conviction to change. Once you go through that, now you stand on a stage or in front of people and you tell the story of your life. And you know what you've done? You've overcome. You've forgiven some. You've gone through some of that stuff. And now you've overcome. And you can stand on that stage and guess what you're doing? You're changing lives. Because there's people there that are where you were, but you've progressed. And your story of progression and your story of coming forward is what's going to give them hope. So we take the very curse or the very lemons of our life and make lemonade out of them. And how do we do it? Because we tell our story. But here's the thing, and I learned this a long time ago, until you overcome, you never get the blessing. Because the blessing comes from speaking truth into people's lives. The blessing comes from Craig Holliday, obese child, abused as a child, poor, terrible self-esteem, who went on to become extremely successful. But more than that, has changed lives from a stage and all over the world. My story. That's what's great about this life. That's what's great about this webinar. The story of overcoming. But you all have one. You all have a story. The problem is some of you we're in a 40-chapter book, you're on chapter 20 and you've already closed the book. Or you're on chapter 5 and you've already closed the book. You're not still writing. The story is still being written. The story is still being written. And for each of us that are watching today, I just want to encourage you. Be willing to discover. Be willing to look back. Don't turn around. You can glance over your shoulder. You can look back and see, and you know what? Yeah, you're going to have to, when I used to do peer counseling or counseling with people, I'd sit down and I said, you know what? It's going to be harder when you start than it is right now. And a lot of them got scared and ran away, right? Because once you go back, it's going to be tough because you got to go on the journey. And I'm not talking about spending millions of dollars and hours talking about the past. I'm saying being willing to say, if I'll discover this about my past, if I discover that the reason why I spend my life never resting, never feeling complete, never feeling like I'm successful is because I grew up with a father that spent all of his life telling me I was worthless. And now I'm spending all my time trying to prove to him I'm not. And it's exhausting. And for some of you, he is not even here anymore. He's passed away. But we're still performing for him because he told me I was bad or I wasn't worth it. And said, we're on a treadmill. That's exhausting. It's exhausting to be on that treadmill. Got to prove myself, got to prove myself, got to prove myself. I've been there, done that. When I first got into network marketing, I was rampant doing that to prove to my father that he never should have left because I was a good kid. And I'm going to go be so successful, that my father will recognize me. All the wrong reasons. But I didn't know that until I dealt with it, until I was convicted. And so to ask ourselves questions like, what are the lies I continue to tell myself? What are my greatest holdbacks right now? What are the three things I fear the most in my life? And why do I fear those things? Right? Do I fear success? Why? Do I fear failure? Why? See, asking those questions to ourselves, we don't like to usually sit down, with a glass of wine or, a cup of water or whatever, and go down and start looking at us. But I can tell you, and you will not be a big leader in this business or in your life, whether it's in church, with your family, until we begin to realize that our life is a journey. We have seasons of life, right? I had a season of life as a child I had no control over. But it was a season, and I lived it. And there was a season of life where I made some decisions to say, why not me? And there was a season of life of productivity, getting out and making a difference. And the more I helped people, the more I saw people's lives change because of me, the better I felt about myself. And then there's that season of provision. That's the dream season. That's a season where you've gotten your money squared away in your life. You got yourself pretty much squared away. And now you spend the later years of your life providing for others. A season of provision. But you know, the sadness is so many people never get to that point, do they? How many people never get to the point in life of provision? They're still 70 years old working to provide, or working, the productive, just trying to make another dollar so they can live out their money, which most people aren't doing. It's tiring. It's being on the treadmill. And so for most of us, we just have to make some decisions. But again, let me give you confidence in this. How great is it that we can decide to change? In the business, the business I'm in, I spend a lot of my time trying to help people change, right? Speaking truth in their life, helping them see the frailties, see the things, the strengths of their personality, the weaknesses of their personality, increase the strengths, decrease the weaknesses, all that kind of stuff. I spend my life doing that kind of stuff. And it's tiring because you can't change people. This is a great piece of wisdom for you. You can't change people. I thought I could in the beginning. I thought, man, if I come into your life and I've given you the greatest opportunity that's ever existed on the earth, I take you from saying you have a job you hate and you're broke to a place you can go. And I used to think that I could just motivate him enough to succeed. One of the things I learned a long time ago, if you don't have a why, if you don't have a purpose, if you don't understand your design, if you don't understand your DNA, then nobody's going to push you to anything. I don't care if it's Anthony Robbins, who's one of the best in the world, by the way. But until you make that decision, my mother drank for 40 years. 40 years she drank. We were little kids, and I'd hide her, or she'd put booze in shampoo bottles, and I'd go hide it from her so she couldn't find it. She'd always find more. And when we were kids, young kids, 7, 8, 9, 10, I got 4 brothers. We would all go to mom and say, Mom, you got to quit drinking, please. She'd stay away for a week at a time. And we'd be little kids trying to take care of ourselves. Beg her, cry, do everything we could possibly do to get this woman to please stop messing up and ruining her life. Didn't do a bit of good. One day she called me. It was on December 1st. I don't even remember what year it was. My mom's passed now. She passed about this year, coming up will be 4 years. And she had Alzheimer's and died. Passed. But she called one day. It was December 1st. I go, hey, Mom, how you doing? Blah, blah, blah. And she'd been drinking her whole life. She goes, I'm going to go into rehab. I'm going to quit drinking. That's my goal. And I just broke down. I don't remember how old I was. I was pretty old. I was like 40 maybe. I said, really? I said, yeah. So I just got on my knees and prayed, God, let her finish. Let her get through this. And she did. She put herself in a 30-day program. And she never had another drink the rest of her life. Why did she do that? Because she decided to change her life. She decided to. We can have the best opportunity in the world. We can be the best mentors in the world. We can be the best trainers in the world. But until you decide that it's time for change, until you decide to draw the line in the sand and say, that's it. That's it. I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired, and I'm going to step off the line. That's it, period. Until a person gets to that point, all we can do is be there for them and encourage them and believe in them. But you're never going to change anybody. So understand this, that if you're in a business of helping people become successful, remember this, you're never responsible for their success. Never. And for some of you, you're going, oh man, that makes me feel so much better, because I've always felt like if they didn't make it, it's my fault. No, it's not. But remember this, you're also not responsible for their failure. You're not responsible for their success or their failure, which means if they succeed, it's not because of you. You were there, you were an encourager, you believed in them, but they decided to overcome the crap, dive into the past, become convicted, the discovery, and then to change. They discovered that their book needed to be reopened, and chapter 10 or 20, there's 20 more chapters. I'm going to go write the rest of that book. They came to the realization that, guess what? The blessing of their life will come from taking the struggle and pain of the past and sharing the victory with people so they believe they can do it. And that turns all the struggle into being worth it. I don't know if I thought as a young person, I'd never say this, but I'm going to tell you, I'm glad about everything I went through, everything that happened to me. Standing up and a stepfather disciplining me by putting rocks or standing us up against the wall and throwing literal big old rocks at us. That's how I'm thinking, why? And now I can tell you at 64 years old, sitting here doing a webinar for you guys, I understand the purpose. It was to change me. It was to make me empathetic. It was to make me be able to touch lives and to be significant in the lives of other people. So you're not responsible for their success. That should give you peace. I'm responsible for delivering an opportunity. I'm responsible for delivering a message of hope. That's what I do. That's what I've done. And that's what I've done now for 35 years. And it's my passion, what I love to do. And so I challenge you all today. Be willing. Be willing to take some time. And I've got an assignment for you. This is a crazy assignment, but it's unbelievably impactful. I want you all to take some time over the next couple of days. And I want you to imagine that you've lived to be 100 years old. You've lived to be 100 years old. And your friend who's still alive is now at your funeral, and they're standing up on a stage at your funeral. There's lots of people in the audience, and they're going to read your eulogy. They're going to read about you. They're going to read about the life you lived, what you did, how you lived, what you did, the impacts you had, maybe a little bit about your past, where you came from, your overcoming. They're going to read it for you. But the difference is you're going to write it. Because what I want to challenge you to do over the next couple of days is write your eulogy. I want you to write what that man or woman will talk about. And you know, some people say to me sometimes, Greg, I don't know if I have that big a why. I don't know if I have a big enough why to become really successful or to change my life or to impact the world. And I said, if you'll go through this exercise, you know, your eulogy, that's what they read when you're gone. If you'll go through this exercise, literally, and you sit down and you think about what did Craig Holliday's impact on his children do? What did his children do in their life because of his impact in their life? What did Craig Holliday do in the area of his spiritual life to affect this world spiritually? What did Craig Holliday do in his relationship with his family? What is that about? What does that look like to you? What did you do in business? How successful were you? What mountains did you climb? What did you overcome? Did you open hospitals? Did you start foundations? Did you help work with donating enough money that in your lifetime you saw cancer cured? What did you do? I promise you, if you'll sit down and do this, and then when you're done, when you finish that, and don't just write it out, take the time. And when you finish that, I want you to sit down and think about this. This is the vision God just gave you for your life. That's who you need to become. That's what you wouldn't have thought of it. It wouldn't have been in your heart of hearts. It wouldn't have been deep down inside of you if it hadn't been there, if it hadn't been something you thought about. So you see, what you've done is just write what was on your soul, what was in your heart, what you really want to do, who you really want to become. That's what you've written. And if you sit down and reread that, you'll go, oh my God. And then guess what? Now you have a choice. You can become that, or you can live a life of regret. You can become that, or you can live a life of regret. I had a dream one time. As a kid, I wasn't that old. And I woke up in the dream, and what it was, or I woke up after the dream, but during the dream, I was in, I don't know if it was heaven or where I was, but there was two screens. And on one screen was the life that I lived. And on the other screen was the life I could have lived. And that'll either be an incredibly beautiful dream, or it would be a nightmare for most people. At the time that I dreamt that, it would have been a nightmare, because the life I lived and where I was and what was going on in my life. So I want to challenge you. I want to challenge you to write that eulogy. And then I want to challenge you to read it every single day. It's not creepy. It's the vision that you have on paper now of what it is that you want to do, what you want to become. So be willing today to take the time to ask a few tough questions so that you can begin to be whole. Not perfect, by far not perfect, excuse me. But that you can begin to be whole, so that you can now realize that that trunk I talked about earlier, the one that weighs all that with all the hand-me-downs, guess what? You can set it down anytime you want and walk away from it. But we tend, and I did this for years and years, we tend to, every time we move, we pick it up and put it back on our shoulders and take it with us. I'm telling you, the time for you today is to take that trunk and put it down. I'm glad you tuned in. I'm glad you tuned in today, and I hope, and just love sharing with you. Love sharing about our lives and the whole idea of self-awareness, and start taking some time to explore you. And I promise you, this 2015 is going to be a blessed, incredible year for you. So I look forward to, and I'll be on webinar again next week. We'll put it out. All right. God bless everybody. Have a great day.